I've watched every single episode of the Pokemon anime, and I'm gonna be honest, I just think it's bad. Okay, fine, I didn't watch Pokemon Horizons, guilty, but my wife did, and she can tell you herself that it's bad.
Babe, what do you think about Pokemon Horizons?
Oh, I love it.
Babe, that's not the lines.
I hate it.
See, I told you. I think the anime had its charm back in the day, but I just don't feel that charm anymore. I mean, to be honest, it was always just a little bit too much catered to kids. And I get it, that's its demographic, but it was also on the same channel as Naruto and One Piece, and those are pretty edgy. But I heard that the Pokemon manga can also get pretty edgy. So it made me think, could the manga be actually better than the anime? There was only one way to find out. So I bought the first 3 collector editions, got my coffee, put on some pajamas, and got to reading. We start off chapter 1 with some kids trying to catch Nidorino, but they can't, so our character Red comes in and shows them how to catch it with his Poliwhirl. Red then introduces himself as the best trainer around. Little does he know. And then he tells him he's gotta catch them all. Like the catchphrase, you know? It's perfect. The kids then tell him that Professor Oak has a grandson that he's training to be the best trainer in the world. And then Red basically says, bring it on. Red then bumps into Team Rocket, but he doesn't know that yet. And he finds out that they're looking for the Phantom Pokemon. Wait, Darkrai's not in this yet. But then he bumps into a random trainer battling a unknown Pokemon. Ooh. But the trainer then retrieves his Charmander and stops fighting it. Red then gets really mad at him, saying he almost had it. So then Red decides he's gonna send in his Poliwhirl to fight this random Pokemon. And what a surprise, the Poliwhirl gets absolutely murked. The trainer then explained to Red that he could see the vast difference in strength between him and the random Pokemon. And then he hits us with a life lesson. Know your limitations or you'll only beat yourself. And then he walks off. Red is obviously super bummed he lost, so then he heads to Professor Oak's lab so he can get better trained. Red enters the lab, but no one's in sight. So he explores a little bit until he finds a Bulbasaur Pokeball. And in this world, you can see the Pokemon within the ball, which I just think is really cool. Professor Oak then barges in, accuses Red of stealing the Pokemon. Red then bumps into all the Pokemon in the lab, freeing them, and one of them poops on Professor Oak. Classic. So together they decide to go head out and catch all the Pokemon that escaped. They're able to catch all the Pokemon in Viridian City besides one, so they enter the abandoned gym. They find Bulbasaur, but he does not want to go with Professor Oak. But then we get to see how good Red is with Pokemon, and Bulbasaur actually takes a liking to him. But then a wild Machoke attacks, so Bulbasaur and Red have to team up. Red then notices the bulb on Bulbasaur's back, so he decides to open a window, and then Bulbasaur goes for Solar Beam at level 5? Red admits he knew nothing about Solar Beam, but he noticed the plant on Bulbasaur's back, and he knows that plants can turn sun into energy. Bro knows science. Oak then gives Bulbasaur to Red and says to be a great trainer, you need to have a good heart. So then he gives Red his Pokedex, and he was off on his first adventure. Red then enters Viridian Forest and bumps into a familiar trainer who is also trying to fill the Pokedex. Who could that be? Kangaskhan then pops out of the wild, and then the trainer starts attacking the Kangaskhan violently. But Red notices that Kangaskhan actually is not fighting back. He notices it's actually protecting the baby within its pouch, so then he stops the trainer from attacking. Red then heals the Kangaskhan's poison baby, and then it runs off. The trainer is then obviously pissed because he broke up the Pokemon he was trying to catch, but it says his name is Blue. Wait, in the anime I thought his name was Gary. Sorry, editing Tobin here to interrupt the video. I just noticed some of the dialogue within the panels I'm showing you guys are not the same as the panels that I read. Like in this, Blue's name is Green. His name's Blue. I don't know why it says Green. So just make sure you're listening to what I say because some of the panels are wrong. But shout out to Mr. Starstorm on DeviantArt, who I actually got the panels from. Without them, I don't know how I would have been able to get the panels for the video. So they're helping a lot. Link down below. Anyways, back to the video. But they head their separate ways, both trying to achieve the dream of becoming the greatest Pokemon trainer. And now they're official rivals, and god dang, this panel goes hard. Red then arrives in Pewter City and find wanted posters for a Pikachu who's been stealing the townsfolk's food. Red obviously opts in to help out, and he ends up catching a Pikachu. And you know, Red does the classic thing trying to warm him up, but Pikachu just slaps him with its tail. And then obviously, you know, Blue had to show up and start mocking Red, because he's so much better. But then Blue tells him about the Gym Leader Challenge, and then challenges Red to see who can beat Brock first. Red notices that his Poliwhirl and his Bulbasaur are both low on health, so he knows that he has to head to the Pokemon Center the next morning before he takes on the gym. But you know, life sometimes doesn't go as planned. And the Pokemon Center was actually destroyed by vandals. I mean, that's just crappy luck. The bro had to head to the gym with 2 injured Pokemon and a fully healed Pikachu. But Pikachu ain't gonna be doing much in the rock-type gym. And they head to the gym, but luckily, Poliwhirl and Bulbasaur both one-shot their opponents, so he ends up making it to Brock without getting hit once. And obviously, Brock is impressed by this. But Bulbasaur and Poliwhirl are now both pooped, so it's only up to Pikachu to take on Brock. Wait, it's just like the anime. The battle starts, and Pikachu is obviously unamused at this point, so he dodges all of Onix's rock throws, but eventually gets hit on the head. But then he gets mad at Red and shocks him. It ain't Red's fault, bro. You should have been listening. Onix then goes for Skull Bash. What? So then Red has to jump into the fight to protect Pikachu. Red then apologizes to Pikachu for making him fight. Pikachu at this point is like, you know what? F it, I got this. And as Onix came in to attack Pikachu, Pikachu shocks him and it literally decapitates Onix. Now, I don't know for sure if that killed him, but god dang, he is not connected anymore. This is already getting kind of dark. But Red got his Boulder Badge and so did Blue. And it seems like Pikachu warmed up to Red, or maybe not. We'll just say to be determined. Red then runs into a trainer fighting a big ass Gyarados. Red insists on helping and sends in his Bulbasaur, who isn't affected by water types? Wait, did I read that right? I mean, I get it's not very effective, but it can still hurt grass types. But the trainer in Red managed to weaken Gyarados, and Red is actually able to catch it. The trainer explains to Red that this Gyarados is actually hers, but was stolen from her about a week ago. And now it's not the sweet Pokemon she knows and loves. Red then is super dedicated on finding the culprit who stole this Gyarados and kicking their butts. You get him, boy, get him. But obviously he doesn't know where those people went, so he decides to go ask Oak if he knows anything about this. Oak tells him it sounds like it could be Team Rocket because they've been using Pokemon for lab experiments. He says that they might be actually going after the Moonstone in Mount Moon because it's known to boost Pokemon's power. Wait, it just evolves certain Pokemon. Is it different in this? The trainer finally introduces herself as Misty, like we didn't already know. And they head off to Mount Moon, obviously. And surprise, surprise, Team Rocket's there. Who would have thunk? Upon entering the cave, it's obviously really dark, so Pikachu uses Flash to light the way. And they accidentally bump into a Rhyhorn who ends up being Team Rocket's. Wait, that grunt looks kind of familiar. They end up fighting, and Pikachu's actually able to take down Rhyhorn. I don't even know how that's possible. But then the grunt gives Rhyhorn roids, and he evolves into Rhydon. They already introduced drugs into the Pokemon universe. Misty then is able to confirm that it was Team Rocket who stole her Gyarados. Misty starts attacking with her Staryu, but Rhydon used Horn Drill to fling the water right back at Misty, sending her flying into the cave wall. Is she gonna be okay? Red then starts seeing Red, and he has Pikachu attack Rhydon again. Rhydon then starts stepping on Pikachu and crushing him. Are you serious? But Pikachu is somehow able to fling up into the air, hit the ceiling, and rocks fall, allowing Red and Misty to escape. Misty then gets mad at Red for getting her a little dirty and then hits him. Classic Misty, you know, hitting her friends. But within the rubble that fell, Red actually picked up a Moonstone, which who knows, maybe or maybe it will not come in handy later. Spoiler alert, it definitely is gonna help later. The pair makes it back to Cerulean City and Misty's home, which is a freaking mansion? Girl is rich. I mean, look at this dress, like, god dang. They sit down for dinner and Red starts bragging how he was able to defeat Team Rocket and save Misty. Misty then tries telling him that they need to train to become harder. Harder? They want to become harder? Misty then tries to tell Red that they need to train to become stronger. Ah, that's the word. Red wasn't having it though because he's kind of getting a hot head because he's been on a roll lately. Misty obviously mad then storms off. The next morning, Red is then trying to tell all the maids that they should come watch him take on the Cerulean gym leader. Bro's trying to spit game right now. I respect. But all the maids start tee-heeing to each other as Misty walks in and then shows Red to the gym. When they get to the gym, Misty then has her grand reveal. She's actually the gym leader. Red thinks it's a joke, so Misty decides to pummel him with a Starmie. Red tried to fight back, but none of his Pokemon stood a chance. Misty then tries explaining to Red that they need to work together and grow stronger together so they can take on Team Rocket if they ever have to face him again. Red finally accepts what she's saying and decides to go train with Misty. A few days later after training, Red decides to leave because now it was time for them to get stronger on their own. But we're left to question, did Red get the second gym badge? Well, I guess we'll just have to find out later. We're then sent to a laboratory where a scientist falls into his machine as the auto timer goes off. What's gonna happen? I have so many questions. But we're back with Red on Route 24, and he seems to be having trouble with his ball load. because he has so many. But then we run into a human Rattata abomination. He then starts talking to Red, but then instantly is grabbed by a Fearow. Red manages obviously to shock it down with Pikachu and save the abomination. So they decide to head back to the abomination's place so he can undo the mess that he did. Every time I say abomination, I'm imagining abomination from Hulk. I don't know why. Whatever. We find out the abomination's name is actually Bill. Bill then offers to help Red relieve his ball load? Right. And with that, Red heads out and they arrive at the SS Anne. And they don't have a ticket on, so he decides to sneak onto the boat. They end up exploring the boat a little bit and Red sees a shadow of a stowaway. But he's not able to actually check it out because he's found and tossed off the boat. Damn, I guess we'll never find out what that was. Red then instantly meets someone who's actually the president of the Pokemon fan club. Upon seeing Red's Pokemon, he initiates him into his Pokemon Flan. Upon seeing Red's Pokemon, he decides to initiate him into his Pokemon fan club against Red's will. It's a little weird for an old man to force a kid into his club. But the people within the club take a liking to Red's Pokemon, and they're really surprised that he battles with them, because that is a no-go for them. They just like admiring the Prevos, which is kind of weird. But then someone comes in screaming that someone stole their Executor. And then the president has a similar story because someone actually just stole their Abra. Red obviously is pissed, so he wants to know all the details about it. They tell him that the SS Anne is actually Lieutenant Surge's and he uses it to transport supplies to Cinnabar Island. But that's weird because we saw a stowaway, not supplies. Is this some kind of ruse? Red then sprints to the boat, leaving Pikachu with the president because he wants to pet him. Maybe not the time for that, President. Red then hits the boat from the backside, giggity, and then he re-enters the room where the stowaway was. He then finds a ball on the ground, which ends up being a Voltorb. And right after fighting it, the man himself, Lieutenant Surge, shows up and fries Poliwhirl. Can we just talk first? Lieutenant Surge then admits to stealing Pokemon in the town and then selling them off. Wait, I thought he was a gym leader and part of the good guys. What is happening? Red is pissed again. Like always, he's always mad. So then Surge is forced to bring out his Electabuzz to fight him. Red luckily is able to freeze their feet with Poliwhirl and get away. But not for long because Lieutenant Surge's Magnemites is able to trap them. The Magnemites are able to trap Red within some screens, which is kind of cool, and then throws him and Poliwhirl off the boat to drown. This isn't the only time Red's been drowning though, which is a bit concerning. He probably should learn how to swim. Well, in the past when he was drowning, his Poliwag actually evolved into Poliwhirl to save him. And guess what happened this time? The same thing. Except he obviously evolved into Poliwrath this time to save him. And both of them jumped back onto the boat. I would have ran away. I don't know why you jumped back on the boat. But Poliwrath don't give a F about your type chart, and he throws Lieutenant Surge and his Electabuzz off the boat. The day though was luckily saved and all the grunts on the boat were captured. But obviously Surge and Electabuzz escaped. Maybe next time, Poliwrath, throw them to where the authorities can find them. Not to the ocean, but they're able to return all of the Pokemon to their rightful owners. But unfortunately for the president, the Abra he knew and loved has evolved into an Alakazam, which personally I would be grateful. You know how hard it is to train an Abra? But anyways, Red is now in a bike race now trying to earn some cash. Oh, you know how much we like money. Obviously in the race there are a ton of obstacles Red has to avoid by using his Pokemon, but he's able to do it. But they end up running into a Snorlax. But even though they've went off the path and took shortcuts, they can't just go around the Snorlax. I don't get it. There's clearly enough room. But you know there's always positives for these type of things. Luckily, Bulba ended up getting some Beedrill honey on him and it ends up waking up the Snorlax. Because you know he's hungry. Snorlax then obviously got up and started chasing Red and Bulbasaur all the way to the finish line. Red ended up in first place and earned $10,000, baby! In 1997 when this came out, that's a down payment on a house, dude! But he had to spend every single cent of it feeding the Snorlax. Well, at least he owns a Snorlax now. Red quickly arrives in Lavender Town and finds an old man who says there are ghosts in the Lavender Tower. We also find out that his Doduo recently died. That was a little bit of a bombshell to drop on us. Tad bit awkward. Red finds a picture of Blue with Doduo, and the old man said that he went to the Lavender Tower about 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't come back. So Red didn't want to be a scaredy cat and follows in Blue's footsteps and goes on a ghost hunt. I don't have a good feeling about this. While in the tower, Red comes across a Psyduck who ends up turning to bones and it ends up being a ghost? I knew this was a bad idea. I knew he shouldn't have come. I was trying to tell him. He tries fighting the ghost, but nothing seems to work. Red obviously assumes something must be controlling these empty husks. It's hard to say. He notices that they're in a fog, and whoever's controlling them must have to do with that. Blue ends up coming out of the shadows, but that's not Blue. Well, it is, but he's actually being controlled. Blue then starts attacking Red with Charmeleon. Red is able to put the clues together, and he finds out Ghastly is actually the one controlling all of them. So he has Bulbasaur suck the gas and Ghastly into his bulb. Gross. But he shoots them out instantly using Solar Beam, and they fly out the building. But with Blue coming back to his senses, he gets angry because someone put a spell on him. What evil people could do that? Well, it's Team Rocket, and that's the same grunt we saw earlier, just in a different getup. But if you guessed it earlier, you're most likely right. That is Koga, the gym leader. But in this, he's also one of Team Rocket's elite triads. Blue attacks, but Koga then uses his Arbok to spit his acid, which in this, it's literally melting things. I mean, that's what acid does, but when you're like playing the game or watching the show, it doesn't really do that. So this is pretty sick. Charmeleon then uses Reflect, but Arbok don't give a F and breaks it. As Arbok goes in for the attack, Charmeleon then cuts it in half? That's another dead Pokemon. Holy crap, there's so much death. This is awesome! But in the midst of all this, Koga would manage to escape, but at least the tower is safe for now. And with that, we have finished the first volume of the series. I think I might have underestimated how long this video is actually gonna be. Well, volume 2 starts off with Red defeating a Primate and evolving his Bulbasaur. We then meet a new character who's very impressed with how good of a trainer Red is. She tries selling Red some battle items that are supposed to increase Pokemon's power, but Red wasn't really having it. But she put on her puppy dog eyes and tricked Red into spending 6,000. Holy crap, man, inflation's got out of hand. The girl scurries away, but Red is like, you know what, let's try out the items. But what do you know? The items don't only look goofy, but they don't actually work at all. Who would have guessed? Red then heads to a Pokemon Center to call Professor Oak. He says that Red and Blue are doing a good job with their Ivysaur and Charmeleon, and he's wondering how the third starter is doing. Red then asks about the third starter's trainer and what they're like, but Oak says he doesn't know because they stole it. Wait, that's kind of fishy. Could it be the same trainer we literally just met? No, that can't be it. Well, Red ends up finding the same girl he met earlier and confronts her. She then runs off and it becomes a chase scene. On the run, she reveals she has a war turtle. So it was her. She tries to work her charm on Red again, but this time it doesn't work. My boy ain't whipped. He then has Snorlax break the dock from under her, and I think she faints. He then grabs her wallet to take his money back, and he finds out her name is Green. Hey, it's Editor Tobin again. Her name isn't Blue, it's Green. Like I said earlier, some of the things are messed up. I'm sorry. All right, back to the video. Red then takes the War Turtle entry for his Pokedex and leaves. And I gotta say, I just really like the Pokedex entry. It's literally like the game. It's a cool touch. But what Red doesn't know is when she was trying to work her charm on him, she actually stole his gym badges. That's not good. Red obviously finds out that he's missing his gym badges later, so he needs to find a way to find Green. He has a lot of finding to do, obviously. But he overhears some Team Rocket grunts talking about how they're trying to look for Green as well. So he does what any normal person would do. He assaults the man, strips him naked, and steals his clothes. Completely normal. He then is able to sneak into Team Rocket's base with them, and he comes across a half-made monster in a test tube. No, that couldn't be. Is that Mewtwo? Red then overhears some scientists talking about how they're making this Mewtwo from Mew cells. But it's incomplete because it's actually missing data that Green stole from them. Hence why they're looking for her. I mean, hey, at least she doesn't just only steal from the good guys, she's stealing from the bad guys as well. Team Rocket then is able to locate where Green is, and they all assemble to go get her. This obviously includes Red since he's part of Team Rocket for the time being. They surround Green, and then she starts taunting them with Mew's disc that she stole from them. Green starts battling them, and we get a sick shot of him on Lee. Like, I don't think we've ever seen his legs fully extend like this. Bro's like a slinky. Team Rocket then has their Tauros confuse Green's Pokemon, and they're able to steal the Mew disc back. Tauros then backs up Green into a cliff, and she sends out her Ditto. Tauros then charges her, threatening to end her life, but then Red manages to tackle her to the side and save her. But Tauros and Ditto go flying off the cliff. But Tauros actually makes it back up the cliff and confuses Team Rocket's Pokemon. This allowed Red and Green to escape for the time being. And when we find out the Tauros that confused Team Rocket is actually Green's Ditto. Green then reveals to Red that the disc that Team Rocket actually got back was fake, and that she still has the real one. And now she plans on using it to capture Mew. In the meantime, she has her Ditto transform into Mew to go distract Team Rocket because pretty soon they're gonna find out that that disc was fake and they're gonna go find Mew. While Ditto goes and distracts Team Rocket, Red and Green decide to go hunt for Mew with Green's goggles because they can somehow locate Mew. They both end up finding it, and Green has Red try and catch it. And Red actually gets Mew trapped in Ivysaur's vines. But guess who shows up? Team Rocket, who would have guessed? They obviously found out that the Mew they hunted was actually Green's Ditto, and they're here to catch the real one. They attack Mew with their Jinx, but Red's Poliwhirl stops it. But Mew is able to free from Ivysaur's vines and uses its psychic powers to paralyze Team Rocket, and then obviously Red and Green are able to escape. Green reveals she was able to take some pictures in the meantime of Mew, and she plans on selling them for a lot of money. That girl just knows how to make a good quick buck. And then Green floated off on her Jigglypuff, but not before leaving a note and Red's badges. Aw, maybe she's not too bad after all. We then are transported to Blue robbing a casino blind. Like, I don't think they got any money left. He then wins himself a Pokemon, but he's warned that these certain Pokemon are hard to handle. And now we're back with Red strolling into the town as Blue and Porygon run into him. We find out that the Porygon is actually Blue's, and that's the one he won from the casino. Blue then heads out, and Red ends up running some huge Pokemon chasing some children. Red then throws his Pokemon out to fight, and we find out they're not actually his, they're Blue's. They actually swapped Pokemon on accident when they ran into each other. And since they're not Red's Pokemon, they didn't want to listen to him, but thankfully he was still able to distract the Pokemon and save the children. And shortly after, all of Blue's Pokemon just started training themselves. I guess Blue taught them how to be self-efficient, which is pretty cool. Red then tries to get him to relax by playing in a pond, but I don't think they were having it. We're then taken to Blue with Red's Pokemon, and he starts training them to the bones. And then we're whiplash right back to Red. I know, it's a lot of back and forth. This is a crazy chapter. But Red seems to be bonding with Blue's Pokemon around a campfire, but then spots a Ninetales in the distance. And then we find out Blue's actually there trying to catch the Ninetales. Ninetales then instantly attacks Red, but Blue's Machoke gets in the way and blocks the attack. Ninetales then gets Machoke into a headlock like it's WrestleMania, and it ends up evolving into a Machamp and stops the Ninetales. Blue and Red then both throw Pokeballs at the Ninetales, but Red is the one who actually catches it. But Blue says it's his because it was his Pokemon who weakened it first, so I guess it's his. I think it's a little unfair. They could at least Rochambeau'd for it, but you know what? It is what it is. This part was honestly kind of cute though, because it's similar to the games how you have to train Machoke to evolve into Machamp, and this was kind of like they traded Pokemon and it evolved. I don't know, it's just kind of cute. But anyways, we're back with Red cycling, and he ends up running into a Tangela and crashes. Red's obviously pissed, and he follows Tangela to where we meet gym leader Erica, and everyone in town is kissing her sweet cheeks. Red, finding out she's a gym leader, instantly challenges her, but she said she'll only accept the challenge if Red can find an Eevee. Great, we got missions now. Red accepts and then calls Bill to see if he can help him find an Eevee. They use Bill's machine to help him find Eevee, but we end up finding out this is not the Eevee we know and love. This Eevee is swapping types from fire, electric, and water. And no matter what Pokemon Red uses, the Eevee just changes its type to counter it. This is probably the coolest Eevee ever. Red then notices that it's using its ears to determine what type it needs to be. That's a little weird. How would that even work? Red then uses Ivysaur's Razor Leaf to cover Eevee's ears so it'll stop changing types, which then allows him to finish it off. And upon inspecting it, the Eevee actually had a gadget on its ear that allowed it to change type on its own. Red then assumes Erica knows about this and it's her fault that this is happening, so he goes to confront her. Red and Bill end up entering the gym with the injured Eevee, but no one's there. They find a book titled Eevee Reconstruction. It explains that if Eevee can use all three of its evolutions, it can be a powerful weapon. And that's when Erica walks in. She congratulates Red on capturing the Eevee and then accepts his challenge. Red confronts her and then says he doesn't need her badge. But then she just says that he's too afraid to battle, and if you know us guys, that's enough for us to do some rash things. So they end up battling. The battle goes back and forth, but Erica's Vileplume is able to pin down Pikachu with its Swords Dance? I don't think that's how that works. She then sees that Eevee is actually close to the end of its life and she's gonna put it out of its misery. So she's gonna open the ball and have it take its last breath. Bro, what? These gym leaders are freaking crazy. With the little bit of HP Pikachu had left, he uses Substitute, which looks freaking sick in this. And it's able to distract Erica long enough for the real Pikachu to get in front of Eevee's ball and protect it. But Erica walks up to Pikachu, pats it on the head, and full restores Eevee. Wait, I'm sorry, what? That was like a sudden change of mood. Erica explains that she's heard rumors about Red, and they are correct. My bro's a good guy. She explains how Team Rocket was experimenting on Eevee before it could escape. So she wanted Red to find it before Team Rocket could, so it wouldn't go through any more experiments. She then gives Red the gym badge and tells him that she needs him in this fight against Team Rocket. And obviously, you know your boy's down. A few days later, Eevee and Red decide to say bye to Bill and head to Fuchsia City. But in the distance, we see a Team Rocket member floating in the air with a Kadabra over overlooking Red. That couldn't be. Could it? Sabrina? Are all the gym leaders evil in this? Obviously not Erica though, because you know, like we're cool now. But we're then taken to Red entering the Safari Zone. And is that the Jurassic Park sign? But this is no ordinary Safari Zone. This is a tour with Pidgeybots. But you know, Red smuggled in some balls and decides to throw it at a Nidoking when the Pidgeybot wasn't looking. Nidoking then smacks the ball and it ends up hitting a Nidoqueen, which Red actually catches. This makes Nidoking pissed because he was fighting another Nidoking for Nidoqueen's respect. Or hand in marriage, I don't know. Nidoking then attacks Red's boat. He washes up on shore and now he's forced to walk to the exit with the Pidgeybot, but he does get some Safari balls. Nidoking finds him instantly and starts attacking him, but Red manages to throw a rock at him. Just like the games, it's a cool detail. Red throws another rock at him and manages to hit the Nidoking in the eye and manages to escape from it. But then Red is instantly grabbed by Victory Bell, who instantly eats him? Is he dead? We're then taken to Red's Pokemon with the Safari workers looking for Red, and all they can find is his hat. I guess our main character died. Just kidding, he's actually alive, but just barely. Victory Bell then takes him to their evolution ritual. This is where they feed their youngins different animals to help them evolve in their sleep. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, there are actual animals in this world. Luckily though, Red does have a Pokeflute in his bag that Pidgeybot grabs and uses to wake up all the different Pokemon. This buys time for Red to grab his Pokédoll and throw it and manage to escape from all the Victory Bells. But wait, there's more! Nidoking then finds Red and starts attacking him. Red then uses his wits to catch a Victory Bell so he can stop Nidoking in its tracks. He then uses Poison Powder on Nidoking, which I don't understand how that works, but I guess in this world anything goes. So then he throws a Safari Ball at the Nidoking and catches it. And then a bunch of other Pokemon spawn in and he manages to catch every single one. I mean, this guy's the GOAT, baby. And with that, the Safari trip came to a close. We're then taken to Red, exiting Diglett's cave with a familiar face. No, that couldn't be. Is it? You think it's him? The man was able to pick up some rocks from the cave when he hopes that there is something great inside of them. The man says he's just a researcher, but he dreams to be a great trainer like Red. And then they end up running into a Magmar, burning the museum in Pewter City. Like, why are they doing that? That's so random. And the man observes how Red decides to deal with the Magmar, acting a little suspicious. The man tries to figure out if Red is a threat or not. Well, why would he need to know that? Red eventually is able to stop the Magmar by using his Sandshrew to bury them in sand. And then the man decides he wants to take out Red? What? But Red decides not to finish off the Magmar because they can't burn anything anymore. And then luckily the man decides not to take out Red, thank God. The man then gives Red one of the rocks he found as a parting gift, and Red leaves without even getting the man's name. You probably should have got that, Red, that might come in handy. But I get it, social anxiety. I know how you feel. After Red leaves, the man decides to pull out his cloister, freeze the Magmar, and break it up. Yo, this guy's kind of evil, I ain't gonna lie, that was pretty messed up. How many deaths is that? And it's revealed that this man is actually someone from Team Rocket. We're then taken to Red swimming in Route 19 looking for hitting machines, or HMs for short. He seems to find one at the bottom of the sea, but before he can grab it, a random Dragonite attacks. They go back and forth fighting, but in the midst of the fighting, the HM breaks. And Red gets caught under a rock at the bottom of the sea. This guy is about to drown. For the third time? But since Poliwrath can't evolve this time, a random mermaid and a Gyarados come to save him. And that mermaid looks awfully familiar. Well, if it isn't obvious enough, it's Misty. Her Gyarados manages to stop the Dragonite, but of course the HM did break, and that HM contains Surf. But thankfully, Misty lets Red use her Gyarados to surf to the Seafoam Islands where Articuno lives. Ah, no way, bro. Is bro about to catch an Articuno, dude? Let's go. Also, Gyarados is much more friendly now because he was a little bit scary earlier. Misty had to skedaddle, but she does lend Gyarados to Red for the time being. But Ash's Pokemon, unfortunately, are still a little bit scared of him. But then a random mug from Team Rocket attacks Red, but Gyarados thankfully blocks it. Bro, Team Rocket is freaking everywhere. Turns out they're actually trying to catch Articuno, so obviously Red tries to stop them. But just like the first time Red met him, Gyarados starts acting up again. Bro got trauma, man. I feel that. Mug then starts taking down Gyarados, but Articuno breaks out of its ice barrier to help Red. Eevee then comes out of its ball to help Gyarados out because he knows exactly what Gyarados is going through because they both were experimented on. This finally motivates all of the other Pokemon to help Gyarados. Together with Articuno, they manage to stop Muck from hurting Gyarados, and Articuno manages to escape. Then Red hops back on Gyarados, surfs a little bit, and ends up on Cinnabar Island. Red notices though there's some kind of fire happening, and it's Team Rocket again. again. And as soon as they see Red, they decide they need to eliminate him. A little bit harsh. This is a random kid you don't even know. And then we get to meet Blaine, who Team Rocket is actually after. Red and Blaine manage to escape on his Rapidash, and Blaine explains to him that he used to be a scientist for Team Rocket. I mean, how many of these gym leaders are evil? This is getting ridiculous. I mean, at least he's turning good though, so that's good. And then on the run, they start getting hit with fireballs from a... Is that a Moltres? This is an eventful day for Red. I mean, I personally would be exhausted. They start attacking back at the Moltres, and the rock that Red was given falls out of its pocket. Blaine then picks it up and notices it's actually an old Amber. Well, hot diggity damn, Aerodactyl would be super useful right now. Blaine then has Red hop onto his Rapidash and head straight to the lab while Blaine fends off Moltres. Once at the lab, Rapidash then helps Red put the fossil within the they put in the machine. And Aerodactyl is alive, and they head straight back to Moltres. We're back with Blaine, and he starts having some inner dialogue. He's thinking about how he needs to capture the one that got away, the one he created, Mewtwo. Wait, got away? Does that mean he's already created? Oh boy, that's not good. Thankfully though, Red and Aerodactyl show up and they're able to stop Moltres and Team Rocket, and they end up fleeing away. Blaine then explains to Red how he needs to go instantly because he needs to put a stop to the bioweapon he made. And he really doesn't care if that makes him a traitor to Team Rocket. I mean, he was bad, but I guess he's good now, so I mean, there's positives. We're then taken back to Team Rocket's base with Sabrina, who's actually with Koga, who managed to catch Articuno. And at the same time, they're on call with Lieutenant Surge, who managed to catch Zapdos. So now they have all 3 legendary birds. This can't be good. We're then transported to Green, who's trying to enter Saffron from the west, and she's not being let in. Sounds like they need a coffee. You know, like the games, you know what I mean? Never mind. We're then taken to the south entrance where Blue is, and he's not being allowed in either. Yo, what's going on in Saffron? No one is able to get in. Blue then uses his Charizard to fly up in the sky where he bumps into Green. Blue and Charizard then bump into the invisible barrier that is surrounding the city. And no amount of attacks that Blue throws at it is breaking the barrier, so he heads back to Professor Oak to get some help. And then we're taken to Red, who coincidentally arrives at Pallet Town. And then Red notices it's kinda empty in the town for noon. But when he enters Oak's lab, he finds Oak. But I don't think that's Oak. That looks like Evil Oak from the Pokemon trainer card. The Evil Oak attacks Red, but his Ivysaur is able to leech seed him and suck out his energy. And it turns out that the Evil Oak is actually a Kadabra and is owned by Sabrina. She says if Red wants to save Oak and the people of Pallet Town, he needs to head to Saffron City. But how is he supposed to get in if it's blocked off? That don't make any sense. But Sabrina disappears and Blue arrives. They exchange their information they have, and they come to the realization that it's finally time to face Team Rocket for good. And that's where Volume 2 ends. Talk about a cliffhanger. I mean, that's the type of thing to give you blue balls. I can't imagine reading this as the volume's release and having to wait for the next one. That would just be torture. And if you're also made it to this point of the video, hey, comment down great balls in the comments. I would like to see how many of you guys actually made it this far, because I have no idea how long this video is. Anyways, we're taken back to Red and Blue in Oak's lab, and they find out that Eevee's actually been recaptured by Team Rocket. The two start arguing who's gonna stop Team Rocket, and Blue decides it's all Red's fault this is all happening, and he says that he doesn't want people to defile his town and heads out. But then Red's like, yo, this is my home too. I wanna go stop the bad guys. So he also goes. So they both arrive at Saffron City and just start attacking the barrier with a bunch of Pokemon attacks. And they're going back and forth, you know, comparing their PP sizes, you know, classic boys. So Blue uses his Golduck's psychic powers to look into the barrier to see who and what Pokemon is causing this. And then Red uses Pikachu's substitute to enter the barrier somehow, so that way he can also find what Pokemon's causing this. And then Green's like, hey, you know, you guys probably should work together, you know, you probably worked really good together if you guys stop trying to compare PP sizes. Then they're like, oh, you know what, you're right, we're both the same size, and they start working together to take down the barrier. That's what I'm talking about. Relationships, we're growing. The two are able to take out Mr. Mime, which was causing the barrier, and they're able to enter. The two end up coming to the building Silphco, enter it, and Red ends up falling through a trap door. Koga shows up next to Blue and uses his Grimer to hold Blue down so he can't use any of his Pokemon. And at the same time, Surge then pops up to stop Red. And not only is he using his electrical gate like in the games, but he has a gun that fires Voltorbs and Electrobes. freaking insane. And within the room, his Pokemon's electrical powers are doubled or even tripled because Zapdos is the one charging it. Yeah, I think Red's about to be fried meat. We then take it back to Koga and Blue as Koga uses Razor Wind to attack Blue. Also, is that an actual Golbat on his wrist? I can't really tell. But anyways, it looks like it ends up taking out Blue entirely. And it seems that all hope is lost for our two main characters. But wait a minute, what happened to Green? Well, actually, she slipped to the building shortly after Red and Blue entered it. But then as she enters, she's randomly transported outside. And wait, could that be? Is that the burned tower? Subtle foreshadowing? But it's actually just an illusion created by Sabrina trying to bring forth Green's most secret fears. So at this point, I actually haven't read any more than this volume in the book, and I have no idea if this is actually true, but could Green have burned down the burned tower? Because like, it really seems like she could have, but I guess we'll just have to find out later. Sabrina uses her Kadabra to freeze Green in place and then uses Disable on Blastoise. I mean, that Blastoise isn't paralyzed, right? That'd be a bit dark. Oh, thank God, it was just Ditto. Oh, we're good, we're good. Green then sends out her real Blastoise and then I think makes an Eminem quote. It doesn't really make sense though because the real Slim Shady song doesn't even come out for another few years. So I'm kind of lost on this. Was this a quote before the song? I didn't think it was. All right, that manga that's on screen right now, that's not what it says. The joke is really funny because literally in the manga, I'll show you, it literally says, will the real Blastoise please stand up? It's funny. It's so funny. I don't know why he doesn't have it like that in that manga. I'm so sad, but it's a quote. I promise you, it's in this. It's in this. But anyways, Green decides to use her horsey smoke screen and use her goggles to even the battlefield a little bit. We're then back with Red, who is just absolutely getting bodied by Zapdos and Surge. But with Ivysaur, thankfully, he uses Razor Leaf to cut Surge's electric resistant suit. And because of this, Zapdos actually ends up zapping Surge on accident. Talk about a little bit of a backfire. Red then smuggles Surge's gym badge and his electric resistant gloves and heads to help Blue. But once he got into the room, Grimer actually just grabs Red instantly and he's not really much of a help. And then Koga goes to decapitate Blue. Like, are you serious? I mean, I really can't be surprised at this point because this story has a lot of dark parts in it and I absolutely love it. Before Koga is actually able to take off Blue's head, he sends out Pidgeot and is able to stop Koga. Turns out in the past, Blue was given a pendant by Oak that has reflective powers. And that's why he was able to survive the Razor Wind attack. That's pretty convenient, isn't it? At this point, Koga has had enough and he sends out his Articuno. Koga reveals that the only way he was able to capture it was because it used all its energy trying to save Red on the Seafoam Islands. And he blames the capturing all on Red. Poor guy, he was just trying to help Articuno, but in turn he helped Team Rocket. Blue starts wondering though how Koga is able to control such a powerful legendary bird. Koga reveals that it's actually his gym badge that allows him to control any Pokemon. A little OP if you ask me, but I wouldn't mind one of those badges though. You can give me one. Articuno then starts attacking Red and Blue and blasts a hole in the wall. And then Koga has Articuno freeze literally every single thing in the room. I think they might have lost, but all was not lost. When the hole in the wall was created by Articuno, Blue sent out his Charizard because he knew that Koga would try to freeze the entire room, so he had Charizard burn it all down immediately. And now with Koga stunned, Red and Blue combine for an attack to take him out. And then Blue uses his Golbat to find where Oak is being held. Huh, I guess that is actually a real Golbat. That's weird. I mean, how does Golbat even do that? Blue then tosses the Soul Badge to Red and the two split up. We're then instantly taken back to Sabrina and Green's fight. Ooh, girl fight. Sabrina tells Green that the smokescreen actually is not working because she has psychic powers just like her Pokemon. Green gets caught in her psychic powers again, but then starts mocking Sabrina on how she looks. Damn, hit her where it hurts, baby. Sabrina is hurt by the words and loses focus just enough for Green to grab her Clefairy and Jigglypuff to use Growl and Sing to stop the hallucination. All right, it's me again. I just noticed something very interesting. So this panel you just saw right here, that's not how it is in the manga. So what I'm having a feeling happened was the person that translated the one you guys are looking at must have translated like the original one in Japan, and whatever one the Pokemon company had translated must have cleaned it up a bit, so that way it's like more rated E for everyone. But it makes me kind of sad because I kind of wish I would have read this one you guys are seeing because they curse and stuff. It's way cooler. Except this last panel. That panel, I don't know. That one's a little over the top. But sorry, I just found that really interesting. Just wanted to let you guys know. But we'll get back to the video. Green quickly grabs her gym badge and then heads out. Not really a win, but hey, she got away. We're then back with Red, who ends up finding a machine that has a bunch of slots that look like gym badges. But the problem is Red is still missing one of the badges. Sabrina then comes in and Red starts attacking with Pikachu, but it turns out it's actually just Green in a Ditto disguise. We're then back with Blue, who ends up finding Professor Oak, and he explains to him that Team Rocket was replacing Blaine with him. And then we're instantly back with Green and Red. Green then proposes a trade to Red. She'll give him the gym badge if he then gives her the moonstone he has. They end up going through with the trade, and Green then tells Red that if he puts all the gym badges in the machine, it'll amplify a Pokemon's power. But in reality, she knows it actually creates an entirely new Pokemon, and that's the reason she's here. But he doesn't know that. Sabrina then comes in, and Red decides to try and use the machine on Pikachu, but it doesn't work. Yikes. Come to find out, when Green returned Red's first two badges, they were actually fake. Okay, anything good I said about Green earlier, I take it back, she's not a good person. Green then runs off with the machine, and Sabrina uses Kadabra's power to transport Zapdos and Articuno to surround Red with her Moltres. We're then taken to Green, who actually puts the real two badges in the machine, and a ball of light comes out of the machine and goes straight to the legendary birds. And by the way, while all this is happening, the building is actually burning down from Charizard's flames. I mean, they gotta stop Team Rocket really fast. They're on a big timer. And it also turns out that Brock, Misty, Erica, and the people of Celadon City have surrounded Saffron City. And they're making sure Team Rocket can escape. We then take it back to Red, and oh my god, are the birds fused together? Green then chased the light back to the legendary birds and finds out this is what the machine really does, and she faints. The fused birds then attack Red and create a hole in the wall. That's weird, another hole in the wall? Sabrina then throws Eevee at Red and explains to him that they were able to finish their experiment with it to create the legendary birds. Side note, how the heck are they going to introduce Pokemon Fusion in the original manga and still not have it in the mainline games? Like, what are we doing? Sabrina then tells Red about how Team Rocket is going to take over Pallet Town and use it for their own good, or whatever that means. But then Red's like, nah, that's my town. And then Blue shows up and he's like, damn right. And then he calls Sabrina a freak. Dude, I'm telling you, Sabrina is getting roasted today. But the legendary fusion then knocks Red and Blue off their feet and corners them. Red then tries to look for the last-ditch effort and then realizes he can use the Moonstone on Green's Pokemon, which he does, and it evolves Clefairy into Clefable, and then it just starts metronoming all over the place and going for a bunch of different attacks. And as soon as Red and Blue go to escape, the legendary fusion uses Sky Attack to knock them out of the building. But luckily, before they could fall to their death, Ivysaur is actually able to use its vines to catch them. And as the fused birds go to attack them again, all three of their starters attack back, and while doing this, Ivysaur evolves into Venusaur. What excellent timing. And their attack is actually enough to separate the legendary bird fusion all into its respective parts. And now they're all free. We're back on the ground, and Red and Blue and Green start running because obviously the building is collapsing. But then Red notices someone familiar walking next to a building. Is that who we think it is? We find out that none of the Team Rocket members were able to pass the barricade around the city, and that Koga, Surge, and Sabrina all got buried under the building. I mean, their deaths were pretty unexpected, but I mean, it serves them right for being such evil people. Red, Blue, and Green then head all their separate ways, while Blue then tells Red that he's excited to see him at the Indigo Plateau. Getting pretty excited about this, man. Tournament time! We're taken to a scene where Mewtwo is escaping the lab, but it's all just really Blaine's dream. His arm then twitches a little bit, and he says he's close, and he heads to Cerulean's northwest sector. And you know what that means? Stuff about to go down. We're then taken to Red as he's talking to Bill. Bill tells Red that there's a beast wreaking havoc on Cerulean City. So Red heads there and gets to Cerulean Cave, and a tornado comes out of it and hits him and his Pokemon. But he manages to get all his Pokemon inside their Pokeballs, and Blaine comes to rescue him. He explains to Red that this is no ordinary tornado. It's actually designed as a shield to boomerang back any attack. He says that there's only one creature that can do this, and it's Mewtwo. There's the boy, dude. Let's go. I'm excited. Blaine then tells Red that he can locate it with his arm. It's a little gross. He explains to Red that it was impossible to make Mewtwo using only a few of Mew's cells, so he actually incorporated his own DNA into it. But because of the backwash of Mewtwo's cells within Blaine's body, his arm and body is about to be completely useless, and it will most likely take his life. I don't want him to die, man. You know, people do things in the past, man. They change. And then Blaine goes to take on Mewtwo alone. Blaine dives straight into the tornado with Rapidash and is able to stop it. Red then rushes over to help Blaine out with no no sight of Mewtwo. Blaine then hands Red the Master Ball he has, but he explains to him that it's impossible to get that close to Mewtwo. Sounds like a challenge. Blaine tells Red how he had no problem experimenting on Pokemon, but when he saw how loving Red is to Pokemon, he felt ashamed of himself. And he tells Red that he's the reason he left Team Rocket, and he's gonna be the reason that there'll be no more victims to Mewtwo. Mewtwo then appears once again, and Red goes to attack it with his Poliwhirl, but Mewtwo pulls out a gigantic spoon and smacks him with it. I mean, I love a nice spooning, but I think this is taking it a little too far. Blaine explains to Red that Mewtwo uses a spoon to deal with single Pokemon and the tornado to deal with multiple Pokemon. Red strategically sends out all of his Pokemon at once. And as Mewtwo goes to create his tornado, Red and Aerodactyl go straight up into the air and then dive into the tornado. While Pikachu has a Master Ball in his mouth and Red tosses him at Mewtwo. And the result is he ends up catching Mewtwo. Red then tries to explain to Red that all Mewtwo knows was he was a prisoner to humans, so all he thinks of him is arrogant and mean. But if he was shown that not all humans are like that and a lot of humans are kind, who knows what could happen? Blaine's arm pain then starts subsiding, which also could mean that Mewtwo's pain is also subsiding. Once again, Blaine is inspired by Red, and that is the trainer that Blaine really wanted to be. And with that, Red was headed to the Indigo Plateau. We're then taken to a random child in the forest that's being jumped by a wild Dratini. Red shows up and saves the girl and then shows her how to catch a Pokemon using his Pikachu. And then right after catching a Pokemon for her, the two are jumped by a horde of Pokemon. But Red's Aerodactyl ends up picking them both up and they head to Vermilion City. Or Viridian City. Sorry, I get the names mixed up. The people of the city then explain to Red that a bunch of Pokemon have been spawning in the Viridian Forest, and it's a bunch of types they haven't ever seen yet. Red explains how he's headed to the Indigo Plateau and he's looking for trainers to battle so he can become the ultimate Pokemon trainer. But the people then tell him that there is no strong enough trainer in the city anymore since the gym leader left. Red then decides to head to the abandoned gym. As he enters the abandoned gym, he sees a statue of a person that looks awfully familiar. But then from the back of the room, a man appears. Uh-oh, it's bombshell time. Hold your pants, Red. They're about to blow off. Red recognizes him as the fossil man he met in Diglett's cave. And then he reveals himself not only to be the Viridian City gym leader, but also Giovanni, the head guy of Team Rocket. And then Red pooped his pants. Just kidding. Maybe. He could have. We don't know. Red knows this is a fight he can't lose, so he starts attacking with Poliwrath. But Giovanni quickly counters with his Cloyster. And Giovanni starts explaining to Red that if he wins, Red has to join Team Rocket, but if Red wins, he'll leave him alone. The battle begins once again, but any move Red makes, Giovanni has a quick counter to it. But Red manages to headbutt Golem with his Snorlax, and it turns Golem to pieces. I mean, he's gotta be dead. Oh wait, he can still move? Golem then quickly follows up with a rock throw and explosion. Okay, surely he's dead now. Red is then held to gunpoint by Giovanni's Beedrill. I mean, it's not a gun, it's a stinger, but it was the best phrase I thought of. As Red backs up slowly with his foot, he sends out Aerodactyl, which is able to stop Beedrill. But he can't seem to find Giovanni, and then an earthquake starts. Red then jumps and tackles Poliwrath out of the way of the falling debris. Red quickly finds out that the earthquake was actually made from Giovanni's Nidoking. Giovanni's Rhyhorn then quickly tail whips Aerodactyl and makes it faint. Wait, that's not supposed to do damage. What? Giovanni then follows up with a fissure targeted at Red. This guy is ruthless. Like, I thought you wanted him to join Team Rocket. What happened to that? You're just going to kill him? But Red is actually able to hold on to the edge just barely and reaches for his last two Pokeballs. But then Dugtrio pops up from underneath them and breaks their seal. So now the Pokemon are trapped inside their balls. Bro is fighting freaking dirty. Giovanni then explains to Red that every place he visited and fought was actually controlled by him. He then starts explaining the process of all the Pokemon they collected to experiment on. And wait, this is a lot to take in. Let me read this. They're taken to Celadon Labs for biomodifications, then taken to Saffron to be put out through battle training, then to Cinnabar Island to be taken to Viridian City, to be then taken to Vermilion City, to then be put aboard the SS Anne, and then to Viridian Forest to be hidden as Giovanni's own private army. I think I need a drink after explaining that. I'm actually dizzy. Red knows that he needs to stop this now, and Pikachu's ball bounces into his hand. Giovanni then tries to explain to Red that he does doesn't have enough time mathematically to send out Pikachu for it to charge its attack and then attack. But Red says, "As you, I'm gonna charge Pikachu within its ball so that way when he pops out, he can instantly attack." And with that, he beats Giovanni. Even though electric isn't supposed to affect ground, but I mean, again, this whole story doesn't really follow the games. And then Red passes out. I mean, to be honest, it's been a long day for him. He then wakes up in a hospital or a house, I can't really tell, and the girl he taught catching to is right there. She then explains to Red how he motivated the townsfolk to get courage to go calm the Pokemon all in the forest. She also asks Red to stay with them and teach the townsfolk how to be good with Pokemon. Red says he would be honored to, but only after he's achieved enough to become a gym leader. And then he heads off to the Indigo Plateau. We're then taken to the Indigo Plateau where Red and Blue both finish first place in their respective groups. Blue then tells Red the history of the Pokemon League and that every champion has been from Pallet Town. Green then instantly shows up and tells them that she has also became in first place in her group and that she won't lose to them because she's also from Pallet Town. What a twist! And it turns out that Red and Blue have to face each other in the semifinals while Green has to battle a random trainer. I wonder who that'll be. Green then starts her battle with the random trainer and his Spearow, and he looks pretty familiar. The battle begins, but none of Green's attacks can reach all of the trainer's flying type Pokemon. And it turns out Green doesn't have a single flying type, which is pretty odd. You would think she would at least have one. Clearly outclassed, Green then hears the trainer explain to her that this is her lesson for stealing. She then sees this as a moment to send out her Blastoise and use Hydro Pump to go into the sky and aim the Hydro Pump at the trainer. But the trainer instantly uses Mirror Move and sends the Hydro Pump right back at her. And the Spearow then starts approaching Green and she starts freaking out. So I would assume she's afraid of flying types. That would make sense. And it turns out that the trainer she's battling knew about 6 years ago she was abducted by a legendary bird. I'm pretty sure that's Ho-Oh. And since this trainer had a grandson the same age, he felt really compelled to get involved in the investigation. And he was very surprised when the same girl he was looking for is the one who stole the Squirtle in his lab. The trainer then reveals his name is Professor Oak, which I don't think any of us are surprised about. And then he finishes her off with another mirror move and beats her in the battle. Doesn't physically hit her. That was poorly phrased. Green explains the reason she stole Squirtle was because it wasn't fair that she had to grow up in a place that she didn't even know. All she remembered was that she was originally from a town called Pallet Town. Also, is that Ecruteak City? I'm pretty sure that is. I think my theory is correct. So when Green heard that 2 boys from Pallet Town obtained their Pokedex and got started on their journey, she was super jealous. She just wanted that exact same opportunity, but she didn't get it because of the legendary bird taking her away. Oak then gives her a Pokedex and gets her to promise that she understands that stealing is wrong. Good life lesson. But this makes so much sense why she's done all the things she has done in this story. Like, it's just great writing. Oak then decides to withdraw from the tournament, leaving Red and Blue as the only people left, making their semifinals game the finals. The fight begins and Red sends out his Venusaur and Blue sends out Charizard. Not a good matchup for Red. But Venusaur is actually able to poison powder Charizard and hit it with a Razor Leaf. Red then instantly swaps in his Snorlax as Blue swaps in his Machamp. Machamp slams Snorlax into the ground and then tosses it up into the air. But I guess Snorlax can maneuver good in the air, which makes absolutely zero sense. So as Snorlax falls down, he then double edges Machamp into the ground. But then Blue counters by sending in Ninetales, the one that Red actually caught. Red then sees Snorlax is kind of at his limit, so he decides to bring him back because he remembers Blue's lesson he taught at the beginning of the story. And then Blue brings up the lesson that Red taught him in the Kangaskhan incident. It's just beautiful. They're such good friends now. While this is happening, there are 4 trainers looking over them, deciding which trainer they like best. Is that the Elite 4? I mean, that's Bruno. The battle continues and Red sends in his Poliwrath, which is instantly sent into the ceiling from Ninetales Fire Blast. Since I guess he rises. Science. You better know it. Red then sends out Pikachu, who also falls to the same fate. It's a quick 2 down. But Blue then decides to take out Ninetales and send in his Charizard. And then Red counters by sending in his Venusaur. But Red, I don't really think this is a good way to end the battle. Like, I get it's symbolic and all, but like, not a good idea. Venusaur ties Charizard in his vine and lifts him up into the air as Blue notices there's a cloud forming. And it's not just a rain cloud, it's a thunder cloud. Red actually purposefully let his Poliwrath get hit so his water droplets would heat up. And that formed the cloud. Then that cloud was charged with Pikachu's lightning when he was hit up into the air. So as Venusaur lifted Charizard up into the air, he was struck by the lightning from the cloud and was instantly done for. And this left Red the victor and the winner of the Pokemon League. And with that, Red and Blue both headed back to Pallet Town. I mean, what a freaking story, man. That was amazing. And that's not even the end. That's just the first 3 volumes. Red, Blue, and Green's adventure still goes on for another 4 volumes. And I was originally going to do their entire story in this video, but this video I think is already way too long. So if you guys want me to do another video, finishing their adventure, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and let me know down in the comments. But I do need to end this one here because, again, this is really long. And I think it's safe to say that I enjoyed the manga way more than the show. This was absolutely amazing.